Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we've got Josh.
Hey.
NXT Takeover 31. Let's just crack into it because, man, this opening match was a good one. Damian Priest, Johnny Gargano, North American Championship on the line.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good to establish Damian Priest as something that matters going forward. That was the biggest thing, was that it wasn't going to be a flash in the pan title reign, because he did get the retain, which was my biggest fear, was that they were going to put the title on Gargano. But, and he had a great match with Gargano, which was apparently Gargano's 20th TakeOver match. But yeah, it was just one of those things where it was like everything went well together. It told a story, and at the end of the day, the right person won.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that last sentence. Well, I agree with all of it, but that last sentence in particular, the right person won. I think Gargano is at that point where he can do whatever the hell he wants. He doesn't need to be in a title feud. He can have feuds outside it. He can elevate people. Whereas Damian Priest is that upcomer guy who gets quite a rub with holding this title and defending it against people like Johnny and picking up this win here. Like, that's Priest's stock is on the rise, and this win really just rose it even more.
Yeah, we'll have to see where he goes from here, but it definitely he's definitely on the way up at the moment.
And another star, there we go, that's where I'm going with that. Another star who's on the rise, Kushida.
This aggressive nature to him is exactly what he needed. I care now. I didn't before, but I do now. He was definitely like a Wolverine on Dream all throughout this match. The match told a story, and at the end, the Dream tapped out because his arm broke. And then after the match, Kushida wanted to take his arm as a trophy.
Didn't quite manage to separate it.
He succeeded. And then he had a match on NXT. Was really good too.
Yeah. I think they Kushida and Ciampa, especially, with Kushida's new attitude, it's very similar to Ciampa, where they are just two like vicious guys just going at it.
Here's the thing. Kushida's aggressiveness actually made Ciampa look weak. He went all out, and it wasn't for Dream interfering, he probably would have won.
Yeah.
And Ciampa just he looked pale in comparison to Kushida's aggressiveness. So that was a big thing, I think. It's that going forward, we're definitely looking at a much different Kushida than what we saw when he first came into NXT. And this Kushida can go places in NXT.
They've got a lot of stars at the moment who are just on the rise. We've talked about Damian Priest, we've talked about Kushida. If you're looking at outside of TakeOver, Timothy Thatcher's heading up there. In a comedy role, Cameron Grimes' stock is still on the rise, even if his, win-loss record isn't. NXT at the moment is in such a, I don't want to say resurgence, but like they've built quite a few of these new stars and they're taking quite a few risks.
I'm not too sure about Cameron Grimes' stock.
No? You're not investing? You're not going to the moon?
No, because he's decided to go after the returning Dexter Lumis.
Oh. Well, he can still be funny when he's being pummeled into the ground and tied up at Loomis's house and painted aggressively.
Yeah. He chose the wrong person to want to feud with, because Dexter Lumis is creepy as can be.
You don't particularly want to mess with him.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he kidnapped Roderick Strong for like a week or something, right? Like, are we forgetting
3 days,
that he's psychotic? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And this is also the same person that had a major stalking storyline on the what used to be the number 2 company in American professional wrestling.
Yeah, I very foolish, as you say, of Cameron Grimes to target Dexter Lumis. Very, very foolish. Next up, let's talk about the Cruiserweight division. A little bit of 205 Live here. Santos Escobar managing to retain his Cruiserweight Championship with the win over top of Isaiah Swerve Scott.
The first time the Cruiserweight title had been defended on a takeover. These two brought it. Absolutely loved the match. And by hook or crook, the champion retained. We actually did not see a title change on the pay-per-view, which kind of surprised me.
Yeah, I
figured if any title was going to change, it was going to be this one. Because of all the build-up to this match, with all the chances Swerve's had, with all the interferences and stuff that got in the way. And then they brought in somebody to neutralize his faction, and Swerve Scott still loses because at some point the cover over the turnbuckle connectors got removed, and he ended up getting his head knocked into it.
Whoops. It was it was definitely a sort of sudden kind of ending, you know. The match was building and then, you know, boom, that happens. You're like, okay, it's over. It's not something you can I guess fully credit to Escobar. Obviously
he was the one that did it.
Yeah,
he was the one that removed it. So yeah, you can't fully credit him to it.
But we've still got that opening where Swerve's like, hey man, you still cheated. I don't know where the Cruiserweights are going in terms of, are they going to continue with Swerve? Are they going to move on? It's a bit up in the air.
I kind of feel that that's probably the end for Swerve. I'm not sure who steps up next. That's a question I don't know.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel they can't go much further with this storyline. Unless they do like a loser leaves town last chance match or something crazy like that. That wouldn't make much sense. But one thing we know is it won't be Drake Maverick that'll be the one taking the title from him.
Yeah, Drake Maverick's had his little budding friendship. That's what I'm gonna call it. I'm sure that's not the way Dane sees it, but I'm gonna call it a budding friendship with one Killian Dane.
I don't know. His fist seems to be pretty friendly with Drake Maverick's face.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is so fun to watch, though. To see Drake trying so hard to create this tag team, and they not wanting to go along with it, but still them picking up wins. Because on NXT they had a match with the Everrise, aka the local jobbers that happened to be on the payroll.
Oof.
And they won because Dane decided to powerbomb Drake onto one of the members of Everrise.
Yeah, I think this is a great potential with these two. You know, you could see it sort of growing with the option being there a couple weeks ago. And then there was some time off for the storyline that sort of cast things into doubt a little bit. But now they're sort of going full hog. They're committing to this Dane Maverick team up.
Yeah, they even had a theme music, though Dane's not very particularly fond of it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. The end game has to be they at some point gain the NXT Tag Team titles. Does that mean they take them from Fandango? Probably not. I don't see how they would pair that together, but it's always possible. But it's definitely going to be fun to watch these two interact. Because everything that Drake Maverick does is pretty much gold, except for the tan, his spray on tan. Um, and Dane's pretty good. So I want to see where they go. This has the sky is the limit, and they're nowhere near the sky yet.
Yeah. I think the NXT Tag Team division across all of WWE is really the strongest division in terms of it has more than 2 teams in it. And, we already saw that with a couple weeks ago. NXT are still trying to find, their number one contender team. And they were able to have like 4 teams competing for the number one contendership, not containing Dane and Maverick or Everrise. So that's what, 4 teams, champions make 5, those 2 make 7. 7, I would say 6 strong teams, but 7 teams that can all throw a good thread around for the title. So yeah, Dane and Maverick have not got an easy path in front of them to get to those titles. You want to talk about the women's match and then music, or do you want to play music and then women's match? Leave it up to you.
Let's let the music set the stage.
Okay, so we're going to play someone's theme for you now. I won't mention whose theme it is until it's played, but it'll lead us into the other side of the song where we finish off our talk about NXT Takeover 31, including the Women's Championship match. And you're back in Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. That was Tony Storm's theme. And why did we play that? Well, first, let's talk a little bit about Shirai and LeRae's match.
Absolutely amazing. The shenanigans in it were funny. Johnny Gargano trying to put on a referee's outfit and trying to referee the match was hilarious. It reminded me of the stuff... these shenanigans that Bayley and Sasha Banks did. What can I say? It's, again, the right person won. Although since Johnny didn't win the other title, I would have been more okay with Candice winning here. But the IO retaining felt right.
Yeah. I'm going to make the same sort of statement that I just made about the tag team division, right? And this is before the post-match stuff here, in that the NXT women's division is one of the stronger women's divisions across the WWE brands, and
not just NXT women's. The women's divisions on each show are stronger than the men's divisions most of the time.
Yeah,
and are often much deeper too.
Well, talking about depth, they just got, as the post-match happened, I wouldn't say doubled their depth, but they definitely increased it by quite a bit, because we got 2 new roster members coming on into the NXT fold.
First being the aforementioned Toni Storm, former NXT UK champion. She had a video package on NXT that said that she did all this big stuff in their first year. Then what has she done? What has anybody even thought of her in like the last year?
Yeah.
No, and so I think they're definitely setting up for her to be a heel. That she and like an overlooked heel or something. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting having her in the mix, having Rhea Ripley in the mix, having Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez.
All of the Australian New Zealand crew.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like there's greatness here, and I heard they might not do it this year with War Games, but they have the make perfect makings for a War Games match with these women. If they wanted to, especially with the inclusion and now included in the NXT.
I'll give you your second to gloat that the mystery person was in fact not a male, but not too much gloating because you still got the identity wrong.
Yeah, I was half right. So yeah, it's the biker turned out to be Ember Moon, which was a nice surprise for me. So I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. Well, for everything we'd been told, Ember had been talking about how her injury was a career ender. And I don't know if situations changed or if the truth was glossed over a little bit, but all that really matters in the end is that Ember is back with us. She is on NXT television, and she's making an impact right off the bat in the women's division.
Yeah, Ember was part of the main event for NXT this week. She's definitely a powerful force to be reckoned with in NXT because she is a former champion, though she didn't get to hold the title for long because along came Shayna Baszler. But that said, I think she probably is in the best place for her right now because she's going to have to prove she can stay healthy for longer than a couple months.
Yeah.
Before she goes back to the main roster to try to get one of those titles. So this is a good place for her. She can elevate some of the other women, like your girl Dakota.
Yeah.
And elevate their in-ring abilities and stuff. And we'll have a bunch of great matches. She could have a match with Io. She could have a match with Dakota. She could have a match with Raquel Gonzalez, Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm. And the names just keep going and going and going. Candice LeRae, Mia Yim, although she may be distracted with something else. So I could still see her doing, like, I'm Mia Yim here and I'm X here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still a big division, and Ember's just going to be another piece of the puzzle that allows for so many more combinations than what we had prior.
Mm-hmm.
And that can always be great, having options. Just ask the Raw Tag Team division what having options is like.
Let's be honest, let's just ask any of the main roster tag team divisions here. Yeah, I think the women's division in NXT is just taking strides. This is, as we said, big division already, and then 2 massive additions on top of that. And, constant feuds, not necessarily just over the title as well. Lots of little different offshoot feuds, and I think they've been handling that roster pretty damn well. And just to mention, the loser of the NXT Takeover match as well, Candice LeRae, seems to also be offshooting straight away into another feud involving yet another awesome Australian, Indy Hartwell, and Johnny, and something's happening there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but they got home, the power couple did. There's a 65-inch high-definition television sitting on their porch with a note to them, which already makes Candice LeRae kind of jealous because Johnny was like, just like a guy, hey, free TV, yes please. Which is what I've been like, hey, it's a free big screen TV. It's good in my house. And apparently came with a USB drive. And Johnny was watching it it was like a later on vignette than the original one in the show. And they mentioned like several times that she saved Candice LeRae during the match. And they showed like one of them. And Johnny said, I've always liked that girl. There's something here. I'm scared that this is going to be some kind of cheating storyline. But let's see what they go with. Let's see how it develops.
That's basically our catchphrase here. We'll talk about the main event of NXT Takeover 31, Bella versus O'Reilly for the NXT Championship, almost half an hour. But I wanna just pocket that segue. The let's see what happens. I want to pocket that, and let's talk about Bella O'Reilly.
They went to an absolute war. And they also revealed a very big secret to the indie world. You don't have to do 11 million flips and dives and massive moves to tell a great story and to have a great match.
Yeah, I think these two broken faces and teeth and all really came out of this match. You know, both of them looking like absolute bad butts. And yeah, it only helped both of them, even in the loss for Kyle.
Yeah. Kyle O'Reilly had a massive showing, showed that he deserves a singles run, and I'm all for it. Because I remember him having an ROH run, championship run, back when I actually watched it for a little while. It was good, and I think he could definitely have something big going on for him as a solo artist. Which means the Undisputed Era is bound to break up. It is going to fracture into 3 parts. Adam Cole by himself as a face, Kyle O'Reilly by himself as a face, and Strong and Fish as a tag team, because Strong is nothing without the Undisputed Era.
Oof. Some big oofs being dropped
really
this week.
isn't much without a tag team partner.
Some real big oofs being dropped this week. Big oofs. And this is where I'm going to pull out that segue. Right, I'm pulling it out. The pocketed one, that we'll see what happens. Well, one thing we won't have to see what happens with is this Ridge Holland storyline, where he brings out a beaten up Adam Cole and then immediately breaks his leg the next week on NXT.
Yeah, it was not fun watching that on NXT this week. It was a great storyline. They had some powerful storytelling there leading up to the broken leg spot, because they had him beating down the legitimate tag team of Orny Lorcan and Danny Burch by himself.
He looked like a monster.
Yeah, he was looking like, this is a guy that you have to worry about, because he was beating them down legitimately. And this is a tag team that's known for its toughness. But one errant crossbody over the top rope, and that entire storyline just breaks.
Yeah, I think obviously not for the sake of Ridge. Like, Ridge was on the rise. Ridge was getting some jetbacks, but for the sake of the storyline with the UE, with Adam Cole and everything, the hint of, well, somebody paid him, was dropped before all of this happened, and the storyline can live on, even if unfortunately Ridge's push ends pretty quickly after it began.
Yeah, because he arrived in a Porsche, and he said, thanks to Adam Cole, you can thank Adam Cole for that. Which seemed to indicate that he received a rather large payday for beating up Adam Cole. So it'll be interesting if they still continue the storyline, if they make that part of it's like, who did it? Who paid him off?
It was Kevin Nash.
Yeah, it's always Kevin Nash.
Or Kevin Nash or Hornswoggle.
Or Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think where they were going to go with it was Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish were the ones that paid him to do that.
They were sus as HE double hockey sticks.
Yeah, the fact that they weren't there when they were all together prior to that match. But they were nowhere to be seen when Ridge Holland is carrying him out to the ring, beaten up. So yeah, that was definitely, I think, where they're going. Will they still go that route? Just maybe with a different person, or just Adam Cole playing detective for a few weeks, trying to figure out who paid Ridge Holland, only to have that Batista Orton heel turn on him when it's revealed that it was, in fact, his two buddies in the Undisputed Era. Yeah. And then Kyle O'Reilly splits off because he had nothing to do with it. He had his own thing to worry about. mainly trying to beat the NXT champion.
I definitely see a tag team match in our future to fully blow up the UE and split them off into their little fractions, and it'll be a good one. Alrighty, that is pretty much all we have time for this week. We will be back next week with the results from the draft. So both the SmackDown half of the draft, which happens after we record but before we air, and Raw's half of the draft. We will break down all of the moves, what happened, and where everybody went wrong. All right, we don't know just yet. But thanks for chatting today, Josh.
Bye-bye.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling radio, Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling radio. We'll see you next week.